Have you ever wondered why rich people, when the question is asked, if you were to lose it all and start from zero, would you be able to make it back? And they're super confident and they say yes, like 90% of the time. Why is that? Well, in today's discussion, we're going to talk about 4 core pillars to why they're able to be so confident and how you can too to build wealth from ground zero, starting with network and connections, wisdom, and experience. So with the first one, network. Network is something that is quite transactional. This is something that everyone needs, and it's easier than ever with social media and social networks. So with business and regular life and resources, you have to have a network. And what do they say? Your network is your net worth. Now that we talked about the crucial necessities of why networking is important business related, I want to talk about the inner workings and how you can actually go about this. So you have to have value. First and foremost, when you network, it's different than connection, okay? We're not building friendships here. We're just building something that is gonna be of resource, which means this is transactional. And you're gonna notice this with networking with young entrepreneurs. They're super fast paced, and the meetings are not like, hey, how's it going? Or how are you as a person? It's just gonna be like, what can you do for me? What's the meeting about? What does this entail? How do we go from here? So unfortunately, you're gonna land a lot of calls like that. It seems very shallow, but that's the reality of it. And then when it comes to, is it a transaction like we mentioned, you have to keep acknowledging and remind yourself there's time for connections and there's time for networking. So kind of feel it out with people. Some people are a mix of both or one or the other. You're gonna learn off of trial and error, and you'll find the people that matches with your mission and who you are as a person. So don't take it to heart. So now with the last point, the how, regardless of your situation, if you're in a boarding school, Ivy League, or just, not school at all, social network. Simple as that. Social network is very powerful. It's the first time ever that we can actually get to whoever we want to get to off of our phones. So definitely keep that noted. We'll move on to the next here. So now that we understand what networking is, let's differentiate the two before we get into connections. Networking is very base layer. You're building the simplistic start of things and very transactional. And then when you move to connections, you're building something a little bit more: emotion, longevity, loyalty, and trust. And that's gonna last the generations, and you're gonna trust that for the future. So let's move on to connections. So unlike networking that's very transactional and the now, connections, you're building something that's gonna last forever. You need to build and grow with friends in whatever industry you're trying to pursue to go far. And that's why I have loyalty, longevity, emotion, and then invest in relationships. You need these to go long for a generational industry, and networking can be the now and also long, but connections is very, very vital. So let's move on to the next. So now moving on to number 3, wisdom. This is something that is learned through the lessons of life, through growth and dying and breaking and growing, etc. That is wisdom. And it's not prioritized. So it's something that we really have to start paying attention to before we have regrets. Not only are these lessons going to help you in life, but they're going to help you in business in ways that you will never even understand until it comes. So now that we know about wisdom specifically, let's talk about the why it's important with systems. So when you compare someone that is 20 years old with an 80-year-old, they're gonna go at life a lot different. So imagine we were all educated with the wisdom level of an 80-year-old. We might not go for that fast lust relationship. We might not go for that job that's just for the quick money. We might actually cherish time more, cherish the people around us, maybe not care about money so much. And that's where we have to go at life, and that's why wisdom's so important, and it's priceless. And then you have everything like experience and stuff like that, or transacting to build education that is price that you can trade your time for. So wisdom is priceless. Everything else that costs money is cheap. So moving on to the how to gain, you have adversity, travel, and psychedelics. These are the 3 core things that I'm not saying you have to do, but the 3 things I've noticed of people that are on the same energy or wavelength is people that have family loss or adversity in general. You have someone that traveled or experienced throughout the world, or someone that's done psychedelics. These are the 3 ways that I've noticed that people have this open, almost like a midlife crisis of whatever age they're at, that makes them be like, hey, now I have wisdom, and now I'm going to the things I truly want. So now that we concluded wisdom, let's move on to the next. So let's not confuse experience and wisdom. Wisdom is something that is gained with life lessons in a whole philosophical, manner. And experience is very small and intricate, dedicated to whatever field you're in, college, etc., etc. So experience is something gained with action. Just like the beginning of this video when I was talking about how a lot of rich and wealthy people sound like a broken record when they say if they lost it all, would they be able to get it all back? Well, experience is the reason why. And people are like, how can you be so confident? Because when you ask someone how to be successful, it's not going to be answered in one sentence unless it's cliche, because there's so many layers and time and wisdom and experience that outweighs this energy formed human being that adapted to be successful to where they are now. That's experience. So pick a sector that you want to go into with business, fail fast, or get mentors or something like that to kind of speed track it and learn from them so you don't have to have as many failures, and then learn the experience, because you're in a compound, and when you have problems, you're going to solve them. And day in, day out, when you have this incremental success and failures, you're going to build the person and business that you're trying to get to. Thanks again for tuning in, friends, as usual. This video, from building wealth from nothing to something, is basically just saying, when you listen to all these interviews on the street asking, what do you do for a living, how do you do it, etc., etc., it's very cliche every single time. I've watched hundreds of these videos, I've even talked to them, and even know a lot of the interviewers that have these huge substantial channels, and what it comes down to is wisdom, experience, and the 4 core things and categories that we talked about today. So I hope all of you can go and execute and implement all of this, and as usual, thanks again. See you on the next one.